I'm making this announcement in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act in Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, Laws of the State of New Jersey. The Planning Board Secretary has prepared a schedule of the meetings of the Planning Board of the Borough of Kenilworth for the year 2022 and has posted a true copy of this schedule on the bulletin board located at the front entrance of Borough Hall, and has mailed true copies of this schedule to the local source and the Star Ledger, and is maintaining a copy for this schedule in Borough Hall. Accordingly, the notice requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act have been satisfied in regards to this meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Cantina?
Here.
Mr. Mazzio?
Here.
Mr. Ladowdy?
Here.
Mr. Colella?
Here.
Mr. O'Leary?
Here.
Mr. Valerio?
Here.
Mr. Demando?
Here.
Mr. DeLuca?
Here.
And Mr. Paserno, Mr. Fenestrella, Mr. David, Mr. Clementi, and Mr. McMahon are all excused. Also present is Kevin O'Brien, our planner, and Christian Pudo, our engineer.
Okay. We have to approve the January 6th reorganization minutes. Anyone have a motion for that? Mrs. Scuderi first.
Second.
Mr. Ladowdy second. Roll call on it? Or just who's in favor?
Hands.
Hands, yeah. All in favor? Aye. Okay. You guys have to forgive me, this is my first time in Rich's chair, so we went deep into the bench tonight. Okay, Kathy, any communications for the board?
No.
And I see we have a resolution that needs to be approved for Marco Antonio Studio for the planning board videographer. Lou?
I don't have anything on that.
We just need a motion.
Motion approved.
Yeah.
Second.
Done. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have two applications tonight. First one is application 11-21, variance for Tanya Miranda. Anyone representing Ms. Miranda?
Kathy, how are we on notice and publication?
We're fine.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Okay, so I guess give us your name.
Sure.
Let us
Well,
know
this is
what's
my
going on.
first time in
Yep.
here, so we'll get to
Yep.
know each other.
Mhm.
But I'm Tanya Miranda. About a year ago, I purchased a property.
Hold on one second, hold on. Who is with you?
Jose Fernandez.
This is my husband.
Okay. Who's going to be talking, speaking, testifying tonight?
She is.
Okay, why don't, if you could raise your right hand, please. With regard to this application, do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth? Okay, again, state your name, please, and spell your last name.
Tanya Miranda, M-I-R-A-N-D-A.
And you're the applicant and the property owner?
Correct.
Okay.
Is your architect going to be speaking?
Yes.
Why don't I swear you in too, sir?
How are you, sir?
It looks good, Justin.
If you could-
Yeah,
That's it.
What? If you could raise your right hand, please. With regard to this application, do you swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth?
Yes.
Okay, if you could state your name also and spell your last name, please.
Robert Grimaldi, G-R-I-M-A-L-D-I, 39 North 11th Street, Kenilworth, New Jersey.
I thought he looked familiar. And you're a licensed architect in the state of New Jersey, your licenses are current. Okay.
Board of Bingo.
I'll just swear in.
Why don't I swear in also our Christian and Kevin, our board engineer, board planner, gentlemen, with regard to this application and the second application this evening, do you swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth?
I do.
Okay.
So,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Miranda, as far as the application, I'm sure you've received the planner's report and the engineer's report, so whatever way you want to present it, I'd ask maybe if we could listen to the presentation, try to hold our questions to to at least the end of that, and we'll take it from there.
Do you have a presentation, or would you prefer that we ask you questions?
I mean, I can give you a rundown, but I think you know the rundown, and you can ask me questions, whatever you choose I can do.
Why don't you give us a rundown for the record? I mean, we've read things, but we want to have a record of it.
Sure. So about a year and a few months ago, I purchased a property on 21st Street. I would like to add an addition to the current property. The addition I would like to add would be an alignment with my current foundation, the current setback, which is 19.3 feet, which is different than the regulations. So that is why I'm here.
Anyone have any questions?
So, Chairman, the existing home is at 19.31 feet setback from the property line. It's further than that from the curb line, of course, because the property line is set back. As you've seen from the plans in front of you, the existing one-story home with that sloped roof towards the street comes in at that 19.31. The applicant is looking to put an addition on going straight up along that front setback at 19.31, where 25 feet are required. You're also going to have an expansion out towards the back. Into the rear yard, it's not going to interfere with the rear yard setback or other setbacks.
So they're not making the front yard setback worse, they're just extending it.
They're keeping it as it is and going straight up
Right.
and to the side.
And if they were to push it back, they'd be off the foundation.
If they were to have the front at a conforming setback, to 25 feet, then they would have to be 6 feet back from where they are. You do have anything to add to that?
I do have some pictures, and
And I have some smaller sets of what's in your hand right now, so it's easier to look at if you'd like.
If the board would like to see photographs, I can mark them and we can circulate them.
Sure.
How many do you have?
yeah, 4 copies, actually 5.
5 different photos?
Yeah, they're photos.
Same photo or they're all different ones?
Each package has the same photos.
Okay, so they're packets. And when were these photos taken and who took them?
These are from Google Maps.
Okay. When we mark each of the packet, any packet, A1, and how many photos are in each packet? Or just approximately? Nine, okay. 9 per packet. And Bob, what you handed up, is this just a smaller version of what we have already?
Yeah, just so you don't have to unfold everything.
So, okay, why don't we mark, we'll mark this A2, just a smaller version of the submitted architect. Here we go. And if you could hand up this to the chair, and Kevin, why don't you
Is
just...
it only one page?
Yeah, run back, it's the same thing that you have in your
These are
hand.
all the same? They're all the same. Okay. This is what, actually, this is in your report from May. Okay. These are the same.
So we just hand these out?
Do you want to mark the large ones?
No, Mark, we have those, I believe.
They're the same thing.
Yeah, we don't have to mark this.
Well, they're from the applicant, so that has to be marked. Although similar pictures in our report.
Lou, did you get one?
No, those we already have.
Correct.
We don't have to mark those.
Correct.
The photos. I'm marking these, and I'm marking the smaller version.
As everyone has the pictures, and as far as the photos, is there anything you want to review with us, or?
Basically, Kevin had placed the pictures in the report, and we looked at the aerials again, and Kevin cut off the backyard of 22nd Street, which There's a few houses on 22nd Street behind us that are actually larger currently than this house will be when it's the addition is done. So we just wanted to make sure that was in there. And again, the nature of the homes that are getting built in Kenworth, we all know nobody's going to come and build a 1,700 square foot patient Kenworth anymore. They're completely taken down. But so we are adjacent. Our next door neighbor has already done a large addition to it. I believe the one directly behind us, behind us to the left, again, was a large addition long ago, and I think that one had just sold for somewhere in the neighborhood of $900,000. So we're going to be within the character of the neighborhood, and just to show you what's there now. Again, as Kevin said, our existing setback is 19.3 feet, where we didn't destroy, we were hoping not to destroy the entire basement, so that we could keep the front of it and go back. Everything that we're adding to the house is staying on plane or going more towards the rear. Otherwise, I believe in Kevin's report to show, we don't have any other variances for side yards, rear yards, and the house is within it. The couple's making a large investment into Kenworth. They plan on staying here, obviously. And as their family's growing, they want to move in and plant down roots for a while. What's on the boards is the same thing that's in your hands. Also, the small ones just reduced down so you can see it easily. Right now, the front facade, one of the questions Kevin pointed out was, what are the finishes? Right now, the couple's looking at a facade with party panel and party finishes towards the front. And as much as the budget will allow, we'll increase, we'll let those go around the back of the house, but otherwise will be normal standard siding on the back portion of the home. And again, the brick may end up being cultured stone. It's just a matter of desire and taste. So those minor things may change during it, but the outline, the bones of the house, the overall design of the house, we have no plans of changing it from what you see here and what we're presenting. Obviously, the inside may also change somewhat, but otherwise, what you're getting presented today is what you're going to have. I'll quickly go through, because someone was going to be here with us, but he didn't show. So Kevin's report, basically, Kevin, we have no objection to anything you had mentioned. We will make sure that the HVAC positioning is located within the confines of the code, and we'll adjust it and check with Jerry as we go in to make sure it's placed where it needs to be. There was a dead tree in the back that was removed. Us older people from Kenworth may know, long ago, this was part of Uppsala College, this area. So the odd things in the backyard, well, one of them was a decrepit set of steps that used to go to the dormitories. The other was a very odd-shaped garage. It could fit a Model T in it, but it couldn't fit a Ford F-250 in it. As the width-wise, when you get there, it was again interesting from a historic standpoint, but from a safety standpoint, the concrete was degrading, rebar was showing. There's a lot of rebar. There was a lot of rebar in it, but those have already been removed. So
the structure shown in the back is gone.
The ones from the aerial, those historic items are gone. And again, they were safety issues, and the homeowner had availability to some tools that could remove them.
So they're gone now, or that's proposed?
They're gone now.
They're gone already.
They're gone now. And otherwise, I believe everything that you're speaking of, Kevin, we're okay with, and we're going to comply with.
Runoff?
Have you done any pre-enclosed watershed? Meaning water runoff, is there more coming off? I know you're making it larger. My concern always is, again, when you make things, everybody makes things larger, they continue to run off without The next thing you know, we have, our catch basins are filling up because we did make a larger structure.
Now,
As long as you guys, and I'm sure that this is not part of the construction, but when they're doing it, it would be helpful to actually, when they do the detention pits on the corners where it holds some of the water, if you can, do a drainage. Yeah, and just do pre-post watershed, you hold it for a little bit. It's something that an engineer can do real quick, because you are changing the impervious structure, meaning the stuff that doesn't percolate into the soil. No big deal, but it's, again, there's always a concern because as houses are getting bigger, you're now reducing the amount of, we're increasing the amount of runoff, reducing the amount of stuff that goes and percolates in the soil. So if you guys are agreeable to something that would help that, perforated pipe, I don't know, whatever works.
I believe Ed had mentioned and talked about it, but unfortunately, he could talk more intelligently about it, but in general, yes. And also-
I can't, so I mean,
Yes. The property currently though, right now, is sloping from back to front. So everything's coming at us. At least anything that we do on the property really shouldn't be impacting our neighbors because it is coming right back out to the street. Yes, eventually that could be coming to the neighbors because it's getting out to the street. But yeah, we'll work with the engineers to make sure if there's simple remedies to mitigate that they will do it.
Christian Cuello has a review letter out, so maybe
Yes.
once you finish your presentation, we'll deal with the engineering. As far as the elevation of the house, if there's any questions on
If
that.
Kevin had any more questions regarding what we just stated in reference to his,
Yeah, if you address the runoff, that's fine. And if you would make a commitment that the HVAC will require a post-approval inspection so that we can ensure it's in the right place, because otherwise it's a variance, we don't have to come back.
understood.
I mean, we'd like to have you back, but.
We'll come visit.
Just him though, right? Okay.
Everybody's welcome.
And I think with Chris, the only thing that we had a question regarding was, we'll put a tree, but where? Between the curb line and the sidewalk, and there's
Put it in a pot.
So exhibit
Big
D
tree, big trees are
shows,
nice.
big trees,
Big tree, and
the plastic.
Well, Mr. Deck just walked in, so
Okay.
exhibit D has a Google Maps picture of our sidewalk. And I think the tree wanted to be in front of our house, so based on the location.
If you could pick a location that you think will get a tree in, we'll put it there.
How about the corner, I guess, on the opposite side of the driveway, will be located?
The northernmost corner?
What kind of tree?
And what kind of tree does the town like in that area?
And what's the typical red maple?
What's our favorite tree, street tree of the day?
President is nice, so
Red oak is good as well. One with the garage.
I got a twig for you.
I'll bring Ed up to speed that basically we've agreed to everything, thrown you under the bus, and just left you with the questions out. We're going to mitigate any leftover watershed. And you're going to have to get from us.
swear Mr. Deck in?
Yeah, I will do that. Ed, if you can raise your right hand with regard to this application, you swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth.
Yes, I do.
And just for the record, state your name, spell your last name, please.
Edward S.D.C.
And you're appearing as an engineering witness. I'm assuming your licenses are
Yes, I am.
up to speed. Our Mr. Grimaldi gave us a good overview of everything, but what are we focusing on now? Water runoff?
There was a question about runoff.
Yeah.
Right, I read both reports from the planner and from the court engineer, and we will be providing detention, a modified type of system that will run along the downspouts and it drains out to the street. It'll be a recharge type system.
And
which we've shown on the plot.
Yeah. And in response to my letter, there's nothing else that you,
No, I went through the letter and we will, we agree and will comply with all the conditions set forth in the letter.
And I think, I'm going to safely assume that structurally, because it looks like that most of the houses there are pretty much, you're going to be in line with, because they're all up front. A lot of the houses are more to the front now. I'm going to say, so structurally, for us to say to you, you got to cut back 25 feet, I don't even increase the cost, but I don't think it would be structurally feasible for you to move a house to be in compliance with the front setback. I don't think structurally, well, it's structurally possible, but
anything's possible.
as an architect, that's what you
Not
guys
many things
you
are
guys,
feasible. Not many things are feasible.
I don't think with the oldest of the foundation, to cut into that, you're gonna run yourself with a lot more problems than
Yes.
you're actually asking for.
And with the information that Shamrock, Mr. that Kevin reported, we already have 19, 22, 17, 18.
So most of these, when I see it, most of these houses are really,
We're there.
you're gonna be kind of like, it's not, because you don't have an overhang.
With the door set back.
So it's pretty much, you guys did a nice thing with the steps where you turned it, so it's not gonna be like a, you know,
Mimicking what's there.
no.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar to like
It's not-
Newark
yeah.
Air, where we could never meet anything, and we're just gonna be with whatever's there. So it's similar to what we have there.
Excellent.
Mr. Runoff?
Mr. Deck, so that runoff is going to go into the street. There is a downslope from this house across the street, and there's a further downslope from the curb line across the street down to those homes. Right now, I think it's the walkway that lines, your driveway lines up with the walkway of the house across the street. What will be done to make sure that runoff does not go across the street?
There should be, I'm not sure if it shows topography, a crown in the roadway, and that would probably prevent it from going completely across the street. But the detention system that we're proposing would act as a retardant to the flow coming off of the road. So what we would hope and expect it to do and designed to do would be to have a recharge. Be distributed through the recharge system before it gets out into the street.
Yeah, you
Significant velocity.
So you're gonna try to prevent the sheet flow for like, I mean, obviously not gonna prevent a 100-year storm, maybe 25-year storm.
That would, even 25-year storm, would, gutters wouldn't be able to handle
Yeah,
it.
it's a lot, it's gonna, I mean, the hard thing is with that, the crown is probably under 2%, let's say. There's no hinge point, so which means it's a direct crown, right to the gutter.
Yeah, I mean, we could do something like almost have a deflector put in and have it go off to the side.
And I mean, even do something like a gate to slow the velocity flow, because you are on a slope. When that water comes down, it comes down pretty hard, and on a hard rate, anything like a 25-year storm that's going to go, it's going to go sheet flow right across the street. I think that's exactly what you're getting at.
Yeah.
Again, that's an engineering issue. If you got a solution for it, I don't know, but usually when they just build a bigger, I guess, hold more water on site.
You mentioned you're gonna do a recharge system, right? So
That's
what are you gonna
correct.
put, like a curtain drain in or seepage pits?
That's-
Coming off the house, let the drains go into each of it, fills up, and then it goes out to...
Right, it'd be a combination of recharge pit plus like a recharge channel along the,
Right, so you're gonna show that on your resolution plans, plus you're gonna provide calculations for Harvard through...
that's correct.
Excellent, that's good.
I think the calculations are already on the plans. He just has to show the location
So location and the
of
size.
of the seepage pit.
Oh.
And just
And the
show
size.
it, and then show that, that the seepage will have capacity to cover the difference between both.
Pretty close.
Not quite. So 21st Street does have a bit of a crown in it. I mean, it's there, you can see it, but it's not much.
It's under 1%.
And I can take a look.
Yeah, I mean, you can't say it's super elevated, but it's definitely ground.
It's, but not by much.
There's no hinge.
Yeah.
Across the center either, so.
And that's going to go, it's going to go across the street.
I would say it's gonna go down the street before it goes across the street with the pitch of the street though also. Because we're from left to right, we're probably dropping 5 feet from the left side of the property to the south side of the property.
Yes, and there's another similar drop from the end of your property to the house across the street.
Yes.
And there's not much.
Before it goes down the street, the slope is greater going down the street as opposed to,
It is.
I think that way down the street, I think it's greater than,
And across the street.
well, but we're not going to, we're going to be going down the street as it comes out. And again, the velocity of the flow is going to determine how far it's going to go up the street. In normal conditions, it doesn't.
I have about a 4% slope going down the street.
Right, so that's just really.
The solution's there, you just guys gotta work
Okay,
it
so
out.
are the curves?
I don't have.
Yes, yeah, so-
Right, so what is the solution?
We'll work it out.
I don't know, I'm looking.
Curves.
So, well, you can design the seepage pits to whatever you want.
Right.
And I mean, you could have like a little underground detention system right there, so that what actually does seep out of that does hit the curb, is minimal or back to normal, like what pre-existing conditions.
Right, and if, okay, I know, there's obviously solutions that we can come up with.
So-
We'll discuss that tomorrow.
So just to come back around, if we're talking about, is it a significant issue or problem or something that we can work out once we submit for plot plans?
I think it's something.
We're not gonna design a drainage system right here.
Yeah, and there isn't any drainage structures.
Nothing we could tie into.
On that section of the street.
Right,
That's correct.
right.
So you
okay.
get a commitment that it's gonna get done properly, and with your approval, and then we move on, right?
Sorry, I
Tonight.
didn't hear
No, I
you.
just said we'll just get a commitment that it's gonna be done
Yes.
properly by the engineers and review.
Subject to
and then
Christian's-
Subject to
Yeah.
Christian's review, right?
That's correct.
What else you have for us? Anyone have any questions?
I have no questions.
Do I open up to the public, or are we at that point yet?
Public, if there's no more board questions
No
of the
more board
witnesses, public questions of the witnesses, and then when that's done, board comment.
Okay,
So
motion to open the public.
Yeah, close
Mr.
the
Ladowdy? Anyone second?
Second.
Mr. DeLuca? Okay. Anyone out there? Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Joseph Rizzo, 212 North 21st Street. Actually live right down the street from where this project is. And I think something like this would only enhance the neighborhood and do something great for the town. So, Kennewick resident, trying to improve the town, trying to improve the neighborhood. And as a neighbor, half a block away, I think something like this would be great once all the technicalities are worked out.
Great, thank you. Anyone else?
Close
Okay,
the
seeing no
public.
one?
Make a motion to close.
Second? Mr. Demondo? All in favor? All right.
Chairman, does the
Yes.
applicant, will the applicant be making planning testimony based on the fact that a variance is required?
Do you have a planner?
We understand that we have an existing variance that we're not removing,
New variance.
a new variance that we're not removing. So yes, we would throw the board to consider our plea for the variance.
Might want to address the positive and negative.
Right. So there's a standard checklist, even if we look at Mr. O'Brien's report.
In the report.
Right.
Positive criteria, we're taking a dilapidated structure that's been in need of care for years, and we are making it up to date and a functioning facility. The negative criteria, we're enhancing the entire neighborhood, as the neighbors have already come out and spoke about it. and we're doing it without any kind of substantial detriment to the public.
Okay, thank you. So we close that. So any comments from the board members then?
The board resolution.
I just wanted to make a comment on the whole project. Mr. Grimaldi said about, young people moving into town, making the town better, wanting to invest in Kenilworth. I think it's really important that we keep that in mind, and Mr. Rizzo from the public mentioned that also, so, just my point of view on this project.
Since you made a comment, I'll make a comment too.
Other than Mr. Rizzo, though, from the public, are there any other
Oh, sorry.
comments for or against from the public?
Oh, I thought
Mr.
we
Rizzo
closed.
commented in favor.
I thought we closed already, yeah.
So I'll make a comment that I think the architecture plans are fantastic. I think the house is going to look beautiful. I was going to make a comment about impervious coverage, but since I was on the board originally when we talked about making impervious coverage ordinance and we didn't, there's nothing I can say. Other than tripling the amount of impervious coverage from existing, but we don't have an ordinance, so no comment. Well, not now.
Passive, no. Aggressive, no comment there. Okay. Anyone else?
The board may wish to consider conditions concerning the engineering and runoff, subject to Mr. Cueto's review. I would also suggest that the HVAC location and any required screening be placed as a condition that the requirements be met for setbacks, and that can be shown in final plans.
We have the reports, compliance with the reports of Kevin and Chris. As Kevin mentioned, the HVAC post-approval inspection, so we know it's in the right place.
Plus the tree.
The trees are going to be shown on the plan. The
One tree.
a tree, okay. A tree. I think we talked about sequoia, something like that.
Sequoia. Redwood. We're going to put a redwood in Kenilworth.
And water runoff system, that's going to be shown on the plans and discussed with, the board wants Christian to take a look at that when it's finalized in terms of the plans and where it's going to go.
Does the board want to hear from Mr. Cueto before considering the resolution? Or can that be done after the resolution is adopted?
It's up to
Well, my opinion is that we do it after.
Yeah, I would say so.
That's all I need.
Okay, so
I'd
if
like to make a
anyone,
motion to approve application 1121 with the requirements that that our attorneys just noted.
okay, motion by Mr. Ladati, seconded by Mr. Demondo. Roll call? Demondo. No, look.
Mr. Cantina?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzio?
Yes.
Mr. Ladowdy?
Yes.
Mr. Quella?
Yes.
Mr. Scudery?
Yes.
Mr. Valerio?
Yes.
Mr. Demondo?
Yes.
And Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Okay, congratulations.
I will do a resolution.
Thank you.
All right.
So you'll next get a letter from the board with a copy of your resolution, which will be discussed next month, which will be March the 10th. You're welcome to be here if you so wish, you don't have to be. And after that, your professionals will be responsible for complying with the resolution conditions.
Perfect, thank you for your
Any
time.
questions for us?
Perfect, thank you.
You don't need these to be marked.
You don't need to mark those.
No, it is stamped.
Yeah. Good to see you, Roberto.
Never started, it's
Okay, second and final application of the evening is application number 21-3, minor subdivision, Joseph Rizzo, 314 North 17th Street, Block 13, Lot 16. Morning, Mr. Rizzo.
Good evening, everyone.
But I swear you in, Mr. Rizzo.
Yes.
We'll start, if you could raise your right hand. With regard to this application, do you swear the testimony you may give to be the truth so help you God.
Yes, sir.
Just state your name and spell your last name, please.
Joseph Rizzo, R-I-Z-Z-O.
Thank you. You're the property owner and the applicant.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
The attorney stated, Joseph Rizzo, property owner and the applicant, and also the eventual builder for the property. It is a 100 by 100 lot, We're looking to subdivide it into typical 50 by 100 lots, excuse me, two 50 by 100 lots, which is typical in the town of Kennewick. We've engineer of record at deck is also here. Plans there if anyone has any questions, and we've reviewed Harbor Consultants review letter, Mr. O'Brien's review letter. We have no problem with complying with everything that they've mentioned in the review letter. And we'd like to address most of the detailed items during the plot plan phase when we do submit for the building application. Other than that, we have no problem answering any questions tonight that the board or the professionals may have.
As far as proceeding, if we, I don't know if you wanted to address either Mr. O'Brien's review letter directly, or if you're going to have Mr. Deck.
I can go through any technical, if that's okay.
Could I suggest to the board that we get Mr. Deck up, I'll swear him in again, and he can address the report. I know there are a couple issues in the report that are probably non-issues now, but I just want to make certain that there are no variances that are going to spring up.
No, the variances are no waivers.
Okay, because otherwise, then we would have an issue with regard to notice. Mr. Deck, let me swear you in, and you can discuss the application and then respond to questions. With regard to this application, do you swear the testimony you're about to give show you the truth?
I do.
And once again, if you could state your name, spell your last name,
Edward S. Deck, D-E-C.
and between the last application and this, I'm assuming your license has not been...
Still in effect.
Still in effect, okay. And you're an engineer. If the board's comfortable with Mr. Deck, we can just proceed.
Okay, before Mr. O'Brien has a comment.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Just so everybody's clear, this is a minor subdivision coming before the board. The board's power lays in the authority to split the property in half as requested and make two conforming lots. Once that is done by this board, should they wish to, then the application is approved and it goes to the construction department. So this board will no longer see this because it's two single-family homes. It is no longer subject to site plan approval. So the only opportunity this board has to make sure that there are no variance issues or any inconsistencies with the ordinance is at a hearing such as this one.
We're not requesting any variances, and nowhere in the future will we be requesting any variances or waivers. We'll be complying with all zoning ordinances. There were some comments of the HVAC equipment, you can show that in the rear yard. Same thing with the, where the trees in the right of way, we're going to move them, that's fine, we don't have a problem. We have no problem complying with everything. There was questions that Mr. O'Brien brought up for parking. The homes themselves will have at minimum 1.5 car garage, and actually on that street, there is no sidewalk, so you can actually park 4 cars in the driveway, but the homes themselves will have a minimum 1.5 car garage. We agree to abide by any localized laws that's in the ordinance, or any other comments that the zoning officer might have at that time, so far to be approved for that. Other than that, there was a question as far as the subdivision that would be followed by plat or deed. We do that by deed, obviously for a minor sub. Soil logs, we would do that at the time of the plot plan. Everything else on the engineering letter, we have no problem doing for that. Mr. O'Brien questioned the runoff. how it's going to affect the adjacent neighbors. And if you look at, right now, the existing property that it is now, the runoff from the house actually does sheet off to the neighboring lots, but the proposed structure is going to be either piped out to the street, or it will be in a trench detail like we've done with our consultants before for other construction throughout the town. It will be a recharge trench, perforated pipe, and that will daylight into the street. So everything that would be impervious, the driveway and the house itself, would be going to the street, and the post-development runoff, the sheet runoff of the land itself, is actually going to be mitigated from what it is now. So it's actually going to be mitigating the neighbors, not imposing a hardship on that. And there are no variances. And in a nutshell, that's the professional review letters. Unless there are any questions.
The deck of plans that you are exhibiting, I'm assuming we have those already. We don't need to mark
Yes,
those.
the plans shown here, these are the ones that are in front of you.
Okay, you heard Mr. Rizzo's comments in terms of engineering type issues, water runoff. Can you maybe elaborate a little bit?
Certainly, Mr. Rizzo and I had the opportunity to review both the Shamrock review letter and also Harvard's review letter. And Mr. Rizzo is very familiar with the construction and engineering of these types of developments. So he fairly exactly described exactly what we are, how we are addressing these comments. If you like, I could just really quickly go over the plan set and maybe highlight some of the issues that are in the review letter. Sheet 1 of 3 is the minor subdivision cover sheets, minor subdivision 314 North 17th Street, lot 16, lot 13. We have a key map, a zoning map, and a general area map showing the buildings within 200 feet. We also have the zoning table on that sheet. We also have it on sheet 3. But what should be pointed out is that on the zoning chart, we either will comply with the types of houses that we use as part of building heights and coverage, but we will comply with all of the bulk requirements of this zone and the ordinance borough county. Sheet 2, we show what the existing condition is. It's an existing 100 by 100 foot lot with an existing structure. We have existing sidewalk, existing driveway opening, and the grading of the site is in a westerly and showing towards from left to right, in front to rear, and the left to right type of grading throughout the lot. The proposed lot will, 2 lots will mean that we will be demoing the existing structure and all of the other ancillary features on the site will be removed. And the proposed site, and I'll bring your attention to sheet 3, which is on the right-hand corner of sheet 3 is the proposed subdivision plan. As you can see, they're going to be 50 by 100 foot lots, which meet the zoning criteria. We need all width and area depths of the allowable lot size for this zone, which is the R5, medium density zone. On the left side of the plan is the proposed improvement. And on this sheet, we're not saying that that footprint is the footprint that will be the eventual unit that's going to be built there. What we wanted to do is show how we would grade and address drainage and driveway openings and locations on this piece of property and how it would impact in any way the adjoining property either to left or right of our proposed subdivision or to the rear of our proposed subdivision. What we're showing here is two houses with 5-foot side yard setbacks, but they could be even a little bit less, depending on what the type of house is going to be considered. I believe Mr. Rizzo said it would be like a center hall colonial type of architecture. So we're going to have a 20-foot wide driveway, garages for both units, and those garages will be a 1.5 garage, and plus the parking that'll be in the driveway itself. We're proposing 25-foot front setback. That setback is more than adequate for one car to park between the property line and the front setback. We are grading the property pretty much from the back of the houses towards the rear of the property, and from the rear of the buildings, all of that will be graded towards the front, except for the swell areas, placing a high point pretty much in the center of the building, so the area between the middle of the building and the structure will go through overland flow and the swale out towards the street on between the left and right sides of all the buildings. The rest of the property will be graded towards the rear. That area that's being graded towards the rear is less than what is currently being by overland flow. And it's, again, the only runoff will be on grass runoff. There will not be any impervious runoff going towards the rear. So the amount of runoff or area that's being directed into the rear property is less than what is currently being directed down as far as runoff goes.
And right now, there's also impervious coverage, because those pipes from those gutter leaders from the existing structure are not piped to the street. So those go to the grass, and they also add to the overland flow as well.
Right, so we're eliminating a significant amount of runoff, both impervious, generated by impervious coverage, and with the grass, the runoff on the impervious areas. We're also proposing to put a retaining wall, and the reason for that, there is something there now. The reason for that is to make that area more stable with that new wall than what's there now. And it's really not changing anything as far as the building property. There's no adverse impact from that grading to impact our proposed structures. We're showing proposed street trees. Again, I think the best way to do that is to take the advice of the board as far as the number of trees, location of trees, and the types of trees. If what we're showing is something that wants to be addressed by the board or revised. We will need the required permits from Raleigh Valley Sewer Authority for the sanitary sewer flow, because currently there's 300 based on the calculations of number of bedrooms. We have 300 feet, gallons per day, generated by the existing one-family structure. There'll be 2 here, so we would need that permit from Raleigh Valley for the increase in runoff, which is not an issue. We would also be doing soil erosion sediment control plans, and as in this case and in other cases, we would be addressing the majority of the drainage issues at the plot plan stage.
What's the height of the retaining wall?
The height along the top is approximately 98 and a half, and the bottom, depending on the sloping from left to right, starts at 98, 97, 96 towards the end of the wall. So it's approximately anywhere from 1 to 2.5 feet.
Yeah, most
So it's
2
not
feet.
a
Most 2
significant
feet.
structure that you would want to engineer?
No, but it's something that's older, that's just railroadized, that has to be reinforced.
Yeah.
Cool. And then we have to extend it a little bit further just with grade purposes.
That's pretty much it. And if you have any questions, we'd like to address those.
How about during construction? Any concern?
Well, we will have to go for a soil erosion control permit. What that would be surrounding the perimeter of the property with a silt fence, so we prevent any kind of runoff soils to adjoining properties.
The existing home is, crosses the proposed property line that's between it, right? So
Yeah,
that
no,
that
right,
home,
if-
that home would have to come down before this is done.
Right.
And it's 100 by 100 home. So the square, 100 by 100.
Right down the middle.
There's no easements on, anytime you split the top water pieces, there's no easements right over there, the property, everything?
No, the adjoining lot is a 25-foot wide lot, which has the storm sewer that's, that they continue
Maybe
further
that's what I.
from the east, all the way going down towards, well, I guess by
16th.
Michigan Avenue.
Yeah, that's not on this property. That's
No, that's
a
what
separate
she's
lot.
asking, yeah.
Separate lot.
Separate lot, thanks.
And that is not an easement, by the way.
Okay.
That's on privately held property.
Okay,
Did
thank you.
research on that, we could say.
I was just checking, I just saw that because I grew up around it.
It's privately owned property, but it's a,
And it has a pipe underneath it. And it houses in either direction,
24 inch, and that's a 2-foot pipe.
out to the park.
so not even the neighbor to the opposite side of your property.
Been there a long time.
Been there a long time.
I know, that's why I asked.
Yeah.
But it's bizarre, it's not.
Okay.
I mean, people have actually built homes on this thing.
And
When
there's,
you look at the area.
Right.
There's a driveway, there's a driveway.
Oh, on this easement further,
Further,
Look,
further to
on
the
the pipe,
yeah,
where an easement should be.
right.
It isn't.
And there's homes built on? There's homes?
Actually, yeah, if you look at this, you see the rear property line crosses, across this lot 15.
Right.
The, you know, what we consider easement. So we're at lot 5.
Yeah, there's a house right there.
I have a question. I know that these aren't obviously the final plans for the houses, but, and I know this is not the final version, but right now, I think some more, just gotta take a look at the corner that's adjacent to lot 5. You have the 98 contour, yes, there's a existing 96 there. So there should probably be 2 more contour lines.
Or we were thinking of maybe extending the wall.
Extending the
Yeah, I think that would be a good test. Okay, why don't you take a look at that? Because a lot of these issues we handle during the plot plan phase. And even the wall itself.
I mean, I know with the detention that you're gonna put in, you're gonna be bringing most of the roof, almost all the roof area into there, and you're reducing the open space, I guess, runoff that's kind of going there now. But I think that you could try and maybe, I guess, soften the slope so it doesn't like supercharge down, you know, into the adjacent property as best you can.
We could actually we could take additional shots out there too for the additional lot 15, which is directly to the right, because that itself is a lot higher, same as the other one, and we could still match that because the interpolation is not exact what's out there, so we can adjust that and we'll adjust the grading too, the proposed grading.
There's been some issues along this storm sewer line, I guess, all the way from 16th, I think, to 20th or 20th Street.
Well, we've had a collapse on 16.
Yes.
And I believe it floods all the way up to 20, right?
Yes.
Sinkholes, too.
So
Is that pipe
there's,
going 300 years old?
so there's concern about the detention systems that you're putting in. And I'm not sure how you're going to connect, if you're planning to connect these at all to that existing storm sewer system. Can you provide a little bit more input on that?
Well, what we're thinking, the idea is that the recharge systems that we're proposing would be of adequate size to address the difference between what was going there previously and pre-developed and address it to make it match the approach.
In the bottom left-hand corner, there's a detail of the trench and pipe. So we're trying to, the runoff or the impervious runoff from the gutters themselves would be in a trench. All the way out to
And if
40.
necessary, we would have a larger recharge area.
Yeah. And we could extend it, we could expand it as much as needed.
What are you guys thinking about overflow to either the back of the curb or to the inlets themselves, or?
Well, we would have to look and see whether or not that, where we're going to place the recharge system. It might be underneath the driveway itself, I'm not sure, and just try to collect the runoff. And again, the amount of runoff that's being generated now towards the rear is going to be greater than what we're proposing, because we're collecting all the runoff from the buildings and directing it out towards the front, or into a recharge system, then out towards the front. So that area that's going to be generating any kind of runoff towards the rear is less. So the runoff will be.
And we were almost maximizing the building envelope as well, just for worst scenario, but it's not going to be anywhere near that. But just for
Yeah, for calculation purposes.
From the looks of it now, it looks like almost 3/4, because it's a small ranch, 3/4 of that percentage slope goes to the back. And what you're saying is you're kind of going to reduce that percentage slope so that it goes towards the front.
Also, the house goes to the back as well.
Right, so it kind of almost forces everything towards the back, away from the street right now. And you guys are going to kind of flatten that up and reduce the actual percentage slope.
Less is going out towards the rear.
Does the proposed recharge, it overflows through the curb? You have enough pitch to do that? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, if we have to run leaders along the house, we can still do that.
Isn't that what the recharge is doing, along the side of the house, running leaders?
On one of them, on one house, but the only one where it might be tight is lot 16.01. Just that grading over there is where it's a little bit tight, but the recharge is more than sufficient for lot 16.02. I mean, that's out there, and if we have to, we can tie right into the RCP that's on, right there on the gutter, because it's on, underneath the gutter, because it's on our side of the street too, and there's even a structure there too.
Is it possible if you do have to do that, could you at least TV the line to make sure that there's no obstructions?
Yeah. Yes. We visually inspected the lines, but we didn't TV that yet.
I mean, like Mayor Delacour mentioned, there was a collapse, former mayor.
What's the mayor?
There was a collapse near 16th Street, and then there's been some flooding issues upstream of the site.
Okay.
So any construction near this area, we would like just to do that.
And we did, didn't we do a TV through that once already? And it showed significant blockages more up North 20th Street than actually south of there was, we did a flush. I don't remember, I think.
I have to look it up, I don't remember either. I know we did probably maybe 16 to 17.
I mean, either way I look at it, it's an improvement what they're doing, as opposed to, the existing is just going to exasperate the issue as opposed to improving the issue.
So how will the runoff from the back of the houses to lots 5 and 4 be eliminated?
It's not going to be eliminated, it's going to follow the same drainage pattern that it's following right now.
It's going to be a lot less.
It's going to be a lot less.
But you've got a wall which one of you said may be bigger than what's shown
A little
here.
bit longer, yeah.
Is it possible to make that wall longer in order to eliminate any runoff? Because one of the biggest things we always hear here in town is, they built a house, I got more water. And your words that nothing's going to change in terms of runoff and the slope, but there's going to be bigger homes, there's going to be more runoff.
But the homes
But
are
it's
going to be
going
going
the
out
same
towards the
place.
front.
I'm sorry?
The homes will be going out towards the front.
Understood, but still, they're going to put a patio or a deck back there if they can. You're going to have runoff from the back of the homes. And right now, that 4 or 5 foot drop is really going to funnel that stuff down.
Well, what we can do, and I think, is a pretty decent way or good way of intercepting the flow would be the grade. I'm going to visually do this from our property going towards the rear. We'll intercept the wall. The wall could have like a 1/2 foot high profile, and then top, and then, then the rear area would be lower, but the flow would then be intercepted, so it'd go directly over the wall, be intercepted by the wall, and then could go down into the ground. In other words, you can intercept whatever flow by constructing the wall so it has some kind of reveal.
Just how to get into the ground.
Recharge.
Behind the wall, we will recharge stone back in there. But just to, I'm sorry, I only have 11 by 17, but just to put it up there so everyone can see, and I'm just sketching this rather quickly, the existing drainage pattern is such, half of the house, and all of this is going towards the neighbor.
Not to show the chair.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm
Just
sorry,
sort of like
just, if you want to, if everyone wants to, and I'm just sketching this quickly.
I want to mark that.
I did with pretty close to a drain pattern.
Yeah, I'm going to mark that A1 because it is a drawing.
Yeah, this is just something, just for the visualization, I'm sorry, I don't have a, and then this area, what will be going off-site after.
A2.
After development.
Want to go this one? How are we marking this?
That's A1, this will be A2.
Let me show it to you first.
Right, because all of the house is gonna be roof drained all
It's
over
going to
the
be
front,
recharged,
but it's going out
and
to
then
the
into
front.
the street, yes. So into the existing storm drainage system.
Right now, existing watershed is actually 3/4 of that site goes to the back, and maybe a quarter goes to the front. It's relatively flat in front, and it slopes downward. What he's saying is he's going to change that watershed so that there's less in the back.
Right, and I'm getting that there's a wall in the back, but you're gonna extend the wall, and you're gonna make some kind of hip on it or something like that. But you're gonna have some type of recharge in the back too, right? Like some type of curtain wall before you get to the wall, right? Is that what you're doing? Because I don't understand what you said it's gonna flow over the wall. I mean, I don't get it.
Well, I mean, it would intercept, the wall block.
Basically, he's slowing the water down.
No, yeah, he's gonna slow the water down, right? But you're gonna have a recharge in the back too,
Yeah,
right?
probably in that area.
Yeah, right before the wall.
Before the wall.
You want it back?
This way.
So you didn't put down that window over the wall?
Yeah.
Are you thinking about some sort of like stone bedding with like a filter fabric around it?
It's correct, in front of the wall, yep.
And any revised drawings will show that.
So,
Okay, well, everyone's kind of peek at that drawing just to get a feel for where that discussion went. Mr. O'Brien, you're, okay. You kind of answered that question.
Yeah.
It's out there.
Did you have anything else? The board may, there's a lot of open questions, and I imagine that a good number of these are not Mr. Rizzo's fault, because through communications there on the part of the borough, his representative, as of this morning, is not going to be here due to a misunderstanding. So you're basically here on short notice, is what I'm saying. So normally, you come in with some ideas rather than what we have, which is certainly illustrative of what Mr. Rizzo has in mind, but not on the plans that anybody has. In past subdivisions, there have been occasions when the board has said, we want to see what the houses look like to make sure that they are different. In other subdivision applications, they're not. Other subdivision applications, you said, I want to see the engineering, before we pass off on this, and other subdivision applications you have not. And I think that in the ones that you have not, you've had more information. And I preface this by saying a lack of information tonight is not Mr. Rizzo's fault, but rather there was an error on the part of the borough. But nonetheless, here we are at a hearing. Does the board want to see more information to proceed? Or are they sufficiently, has enough been explained to you that you can leave it in Mr. Cueto's or my hands? And this is a board question to you. I have no advice other than to point out the issue.
And let me throw something in here. So you said before that the board is only going to, for lack of a better term, get a bite of the apple for subdivision.
Should
And
you
that-
approve this
and-
tonight, that's it. This is the
and then-
last time we'll see this.
Right, and then it was gonna go to the building department. But before it goes to the building department, Mr. Rizzo and company has to address everything we just talked about,
Yes.
right?
Should you make them conditions of the
We can
resolution?
make the
Yes.
conditions of the resolution, which should then have to go through the both of yous before it gets to the building department.
As you instruct.
Right. So we can do it either way.
Right.
Just to follow up on what Nick and Kevin said, one way to do, the main issue before us tonight is the subdivision. And that, to me, is a no-brainer. 100-foot lot, 2 50-foot lots, they conform with the neighborhood and with the ordinances. The issues such as the look-alike requirement, the reports, Kevin mentioned, is there going to be garages? If not, you need a variance. There appears to be garages for the property. They're going to record it by deed. They're going to have a silt fence, retaining wall, and the board wants some more information about recharge areas by the retaining wall. One way to do this, as Nick pointed out, is if you're predisposed to grant the subdivision, no variances, no waivers, these can be added as conditions that they would have to comply with. The HVAC, I believe Kevin suggested that we want to make sure it's screened appropriately. And if, after we cut it loose, let's say we approve and cut it loose, if Mr. Rizzo comes back in down the road with a house that maybe needs a variance or two, it would come to us. So unless the house is clean, and from everything I'm hearing, he's going to build 2 houses that are pretty much clean. No variances, just pull building permits and get the proper construction permits. If, in fact, when he puts the shovel in the ground, there's going to be issues that come up that he may not be able to comply with, from a variance standpoint, he would have to come back to us for the bread and butter, like Ms. Miranda did this earlier, and we'd have a look at it at that point. If he builds a clean house, we don't need to. If he complies with our conditions, if the board approves this with conditions, that would be the safety gap, that if he doesn't meet the conditions that Kevin and Christian have, they would come back here, let's say they can't put garages in, or the HVAC system is in a place where he would need a variance. He just doesn't go ahead and do it, he's got to come back in here and get approval to do that. So we do have that second bite, so to speak.
So if we go down that road, the resolution's going to spell it out basically the way we said it,
Yes.
detailed as we can, so that it gives professionals as much bite.
Yeah, and if he shows the construction department 2 exactly the same houses, we've had this before,
Right.
someone's going to say, no, we want it modified, and Kevin would probably have a chance to get his teeth into that too. And if he insists on 2 the exact same houses, which I don't think is going to happen, then he'd have to come back here. So we do have those protections built in just in case.
So what would be the conditions that we're looking for? If we decide to approve with conditions, what are the conditions?
Just a
I'm
thought.
jumping the gun again.
Yeah, just before we jump to there, unless there's any questions, I think we see if there's anyone out there in the public. Are we ready to do that?
So Rizzo, are you pretty much done with your
Unless there's any additional questions.
Well,
Yes.
the board questions, if any, and then public questions, if
And
any.
at the time of plot plan, we don't have a problem agreeing to any of the requirements as far as the HVAC screening or where they're placed, as far as the drainage, the way that's depicted there conceptually, going to take care of that as well. As far as the recharge trench, make sure we size it sufficiently, and moving forward, then things like that can be handled at the time of plot plan, if that's okay with the board.
Okay, no one can...
I'll make a motion, open the public.
I have a question.
We're going to open it up to you for a
Hang on
second.
Why don't you
First by Mr. Ladowdy, second by Mr. D'Amato. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, come on up.
Mr. Rizzo, Ms. Miranda isn't here to support your application.
She left. She got her approval.
That's not fair. Why don't you state your name, please, and spell
Mike Cesuri, 321 North 16th Street, and my property is in back of this property. And I really, I'm all for building, new buildings. It just enhances the town, our property values, and all this stuff. The concern I have is, Mr. DeLuca was talking about 16th Street flooding. Well, the town had to redo my driveway because I had sinkholes in it from all the flooding that was going on. Because that drainage pipe had a lot of holes, a lot of problems. Parked across the street on 16th Street had potholes that were, sinkholes that were 4 feet deep that we were putting cones in so kids wouldn't break their necks in it. All that because of runoff, not anything else. The last few major storms we had, 16th Street and the park, you could go fishing in and ride a boat in, all right? My concern is one thing. Building 2 new houses is fantastic. You gotta do something. Okay, something has to be done so we can ensure it's not going to make it worse. All the numbers, all the papers, all the computer simulations, it's all very wonderful. I've lived there for over 20 years, and everybody says this, this, and this, and you know what? It all ends up the same. And the streets flooded all the time. I'll give you videos. I will give you pictures. Every time it rains heavy, that street is a nightmare. It's the lowest point from Michigan Avenue all the way down. It's like a sinkhole basin down there, and that park is flooded. My street is flooded. Thank God I don't get very little water in my basement. My neighbors get a lot.
Right.
All right, and that's the only concern I have.
Are you directly behind?
I'm a quarter behind.
Gotcha.
My neighbor behind them, they just moved in. They're nice people. They're really nice people.
See, now, Mr. Siri, that's why we take every opportunity to discuss this, because he's making an improvement, which again will reduce that runoff. Not significant, but every little bit helps. And as things go on, they're adding more things that are going to decrease that runoff. You're a perfect storm because we've had a pipe there that nobody knows who built it. We've all surmised. We've had questions about how it was
Well,
built.
an old mayor told me that they had a variance.
I'm sure it was not
Everything.
sloped properly. We have the technology to actually fix that back portion of the new property, to properly do it, again, with the engineers and the planners. Again, like you're saying, it's got to start somewhere. Every time we see these properties, we ask for that. And if houses start to comply and start doing the proper runoff, we're going to reduce that. That means, it's a benefit for the town. You're in a spot where you have 16th Street, which has that huge hill. You have from, again, Tin Kettle Hill went straight down to where your property is, which was almost the valley area, and it comes out from the other way. So you're in a horrible spot, and when we seen your entire property cave in, there was vacated areas of, but that's from 60 years of that pipe being there. God knows how many times it might have been broken, buckled, who knows?
Oh, of course.
Again, the proper thing is we ask these guys to do the improvements, and they're making the improvements that are, again, you're getting a new retaining wall when you look at it.
I didn't know, I don't have one back there.
But again, a retaining wall would be beneficial. It cuts that grade, reduces that sheet flow. Again, every little bit helps. It may improve on that runoff. Even if it's even by a little bit, and plus you're getting two homes that are in compliance. It's not like you're even getting a variance for a home that's not going to fit on property. It's 250 by 100 lots. You can't get much better than that.
Exactly. And like I said, I'm all for it, 100%. I'm just concerned about the flooding and the water.
And that's my concern, I think.
That's it.
And as a board, we take one application at a time, and I think we spent most of our time talking about drainage.
Yes.
I mean, it's the biggest concern.
And as long as that's there, and I don't have an issue with it.
Sure.
I mean, it just increases property value and the value of the town, so as long as that's followed, that's all I care
There's
about.
always the hope for Lakefront property, is the 16th Street Park.
You're gonna put drainage.
We do community pool, so.
A lot of lakefront. That's it.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
The borough will set up a ferry.
Anyone else from the public wishing to make a comment? All right, seeing none, anyone have a motion to close this portion of the meeting? Mr. Ladowdy, Mr. Demondo, seconded. All in favor? I'm getting the hang of this.
Tell Rich.
You're better, you're hired.
All right, so,
Without 28 stories.
right.
Any other
Greg would like that.
public comment for or against? If
Yeah.
not, if Mr. Rizzo's case is completed, the board can discuss it.
Right, if anyone else has any additional comments or any comments based on what we just heard, if anything else we want to throw in there other than to discuss what's possible.
Can we just get like a listing of,
Yeah.
a rundown of exactly what the conditions are?
You want the bullets?
Yeah, I want the bullets. Well, I just want to know what I'm voting on.
Yeah, no, I can
Kind of helps.
What the board's voting on is to split 100 by 100
I
for
understand
lot,
that,
50
with the
by 100.
conditions.
Two. The conditions are basically set forth in the reports, which the applicant, which in Chris's and Kevin's, which the applicant said they would comply with. The bullet points, and if I miss one, I'll pick it up in the resolution if the board approves it. We're talking about they're going to comply with the garage requirements, the no look-alike requirements. They're going to record it by deed, silt fence around the property during construction. Main thing that I think the board's concerned with is the water flow to, well, on the entire property, mainly to the rear. The applicant has discussed a retaining wall with a recharge system in front of the wall. Chris asked that Mr. Dex supply the board and his office with a new drawing, which they said they will do, which is important, so we have a baseline.
And that should
Can a TV
include
to one?
a new wall, because there's some railroad ties there, I think.
So the railroad ties, we're going to reinforce that, and then we'll also add the drainage behind there. Well, stone trench behind there.
Well, you can't go behind because that's on an adjacent property.
I'm sorry?
Can't go behind, because that'll be on the adjacent property.
No, not behind it, above, but add maybe.
On your side?
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
I think it was 6 inches on one section, whatever it was, just when I saw add above. And I believe the wall is on the property.
Yeah, the wall is, but if it goes over, you're...
No, not going to that. Yeah, and then we'll put a stone trench in there to alleviate the velocity and the overflow.
And those details will be provided to the board,
Yes.
the board consultant, so we can see what's going on. Kevin?
So the reconstructed wall, if I may finish the thought,
Okay.
will then go property line to property line, right across.
No, the existing wall will remain, and
But we're not really sure where that is.
Excuse me?
We're not really sure where that is, where that wall is. Ed said that the wall went further.
He said no, he said that he couldn't move the wall further. I think was.
We might extend the wall.
Extend the wall to pick up, to pick up that corner, the
Are you going
lowest
to
corner.
extend the wall along the entire rear property?
Is it 100 feet long
No
now?
reason to, I mean, looking at the plan, saying the street.
I gave you guys my, I gave you my copy.
Wait, okay.
The left side is relatively flat. It's where the grade really starts to
Down the bottom
slow
right.
down.
Yes, this portion back over.
That would be the concern anyway, the lower portion, because that's where the water's gonna run off.
Yes.
So extending the wall closer to lot 5, adjacent to lot 5.
We'll be extending it.
5 or is that 15? 15?
Well,
To the right.
12. So it's 5 and it's 15 adjacent.
To the left side
Extending,
of,
extending further towards the higher portion.
Yes.
on lot 1602, the left rear side of the house is going to be 102.0. And that last line is 99 feet. So that's a 3-foot drop across there. Does that need to be caught? 3-foot drop in 25 feet?
Right now, it's a 5-foot drop.
Yeah,
It's existing a 5-foot drop, we're proposing a 3-foot drop.
okay. Can we make it better? We just heard from the neighbor.
We're trying to, but the best we can without putting a 6-foot wall on his property, without having him have, we're trying to keep him in his backyard, trying to mitigate it as best we can. Sure, we can bring it up as much as we want to and bring in as much fill as we can, but at what extent?
Well, bringing fill in is just going to increase.
No, but I'm saying to raise the wall, at what extent?
Yeah, you wouldn't want to raise it, but the question is, do you,
From a 5-foot drop to a 3-foot drop.
what's the height of the wall? We're saying about 2 feet?
Right now, yeah, bottom wall is on one side at 98 and then 98.5, so we can raise it.
Question is, does a 2-foot wall extended there, it'll slow everything down?
Yeah, but then things like that, we can address more detail during the talk like this.
Well, I was going to say, I think it's important that eventually, assuming the board approves this, one of the key documents will be your follow-up details as to that area. So our engineer and our planner can get their teeth into it and we can fine tune the wall, where it is, how high it is, things like that.
I think what Mr. Rizzo was pointing out is that you don't want to have too high of a wall. I know it's a 3-foot drop, but Mr. Rizzo pointed out it's 5-foot present. I don't think a 3-foot drop, 25 feet is excessive. I mean, certainly it would be nice to have a flat in your backyard, but it's not that bad either. And, you know, we're trying to minimize that look of the big wall to the rear property owners, you know, making sure they don't want to.
Don't want the neighbors coming in here after we build the same one, but yeah.
But on the other hand, we don't want the neighbors to come in
That's
to
it.
the mayor and council and say, I've got water in my basement or my backyard. They may have it now, but as soon as these houses are built, if there is any, the neighbors are gonna come in. So if we can do anything to forestall that now, with what sounds like, you said, a 2-foot wall or something in that line, well, that's a lot of insurance to make sure that the neighbors are not getting.
Right, the direct runoff onto the property.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole idea.
Okay.
Hey,
Yeah, we could raise that wall, it's not an issue.
whatever works, right? I know you have the wall in the middle, whether you want to extend the wall across the entire back. Can't you just, I mean, regardless what you do with the wall, can't you just make the recharge system from property line to property line, like X amount of feet, so it acts like a current wall?
Right, exactly.
That's
You know,
that's what you're proposing.
But
in essence.
the whole width of the 100 feet
I
width.
was thinking wherever you have the wall, we would do that, but.
No, but I'm saying the whole thing, so the part that, if it gets past that, all right, the wall will stop it, but if you don't want to have the wall all 100 feet, I mean, sure, put the wall all 100 feet, that'll stop the water. But it sounds like that's not what you want to do. I'm just saying, put the recharge trench and just spread the whole thing
Along the rear line.
along the rear line in front of the wall, so at least, I mean, you drop that.
How about 100 feet? 100 feet
Yeah, 100
for the 2
foot.
lots.
Yeah,
I think whatever solution decreases the amount of flow.
right, exactly. That's all it is, right?
That's what
I just want to make sure that whatever do, addresses Mr. Cesari's concerns and those neighbors, and that it's improved down there.
Yeah.
We don't make it worse.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, that's what I think we're relying on professionals for. To make that decision whether I like this idea of the 100-foot, but whatever you do, I don't think we can make it worse. You have to make it better, the same or better,
We're not
right?
going to design it tonight.
Right, exactly.
Okay, but that's the intent of the board.
Well, I just want to make
very
sure that's
clear.
part, I don't know if you make that part of the condition, but I don't know how you do that, but. That's my concern, right? Don't make it worse, make it at least better or the same.
Kevin, anything else, or Chris, anything?
Page-
Other than your reports?
Yeah, page 2 of my report, items C and Charlie, 1, 2, and 3 should be addressed as conditions.
Okay.
In addition to everything else that,
1, 2, 3,
several of them have been taken care of, or already addressed. And that the plans will be revised so that it will clearly state these as single-family homes. The street trees will be placed clearly on the applicant's property. The HVAC units will be shown at some point to ensure that they meet all ordinance requirements. And
Okay.
the other 3 comments have been addressed. And then Chris has.
Yeah, I went through 11 in my report. A lot of them are already noted on his plans that they were going to do it during the pop time, but I like all those comments added as conditions of approval.
So we'll make your letter of what we need to
And then that will probably will be part in the back as well. That's
Good. So that's, they'll be in there, and the applicant will comply with those.
So
And
that,
again, if they can't, and if they need relief, then here we are.
come back here. So that being said, anyone want to move on this application?
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to approve the subject property with the conditions discussed by Mr. Rago and in the 2 letters by our professionals.
Second by Mr. DeLuca.
Mr. Pantina?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzio?
Yes.
Mr. Ladavy?
Yes.
Mr. Colella?
Yes.
Mr. Scuderi?
Yes.
Mr. Herbalario?
Yes.
Mr. Demondo?
Yes.
And Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good luck.
You'll have a resolution next meeting.
Okay, so,
New chairman.
let's move it along. Get me out of this chair. Let's see.
3 more minutes, you got a record.
So Kathy, do you have any old business? No. Okay, so moving on to any comments for the good of the board by anyone? None. Okay, so I'd like a motion to open the meeting to the public to discuss. First by Mr. Scuderi, second by Mr. Demondo. Anybody in the public? Seeing none. Motion to close. Same. And motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Scuderi. Yeah, you did it.
Good meeting.
Very efficient.
Easy, but
You're that,
oh my God.
You're absolutely right. Kevin, tell Richie that. Yeah, right. There's a cook.
Don't even vote now.
But he still has to come by.